Hello, welcome to Podfic Galore. I'm your horrible online reader, Goldskythe. I read and blood fanfictions for you busy bees, free of charge and no strings attached. Today I will continue reading the Silmarillion fic by Aeolian Sands from Archive of Our Own, called The Rescue Party, Chapter 16. I hope you can at least try to enjoy my voice, and I will try my best for you with the equipment available to me. On with the show. The Rescue Party, Chapter 16. Namo's waking nightmare. Finrod Felakund of Nargothrond was having a relaxing morning, sipping tea in his study and considering his schedule for the day. First, he would escape his tasks for an hour and maybe try his hand at the archery range. His shoulder had finally healed to the extent he felt strong enough to test it with a bow. Then he would be dragged back to the throne room by one lord or another and forced to listen to everyone's petty squabbles. Of course, there was more squabbling now, courtesy of his cousins. But at least Kurfin had fixed their hot water pipe, so all was not lost. By afternoon, he would read his letters. Hopefully, these were not numerous, and write a few responses that he deemed important, leaving the rest to Tinwe or Tinwe's scribe to author on his behalf. Yes, it will be a productive, useful day. Then, raven-haired Tinwe, the lord of Nargothrond and steadfast friend of Finrod's, walked into his room carrying a stack of letters so high that his face was hidden behind them. Finrod's smile fell. Tinwe, friend, have you come with the explicit purpose of ruining my day? Sorry, my lord. You're smiling behind that wall of envelopes, I can tell, Finrod thought. Turns out the reason why mail has been so light lately is that one of the carriers was ambushed by the crossings. We are just now receiving his delivery. Plus the hulks from Himring and the eastern lands have finally arrived. And King Thingol did not hit his head on the desk. Light? Did you say light? The mail has been light? Tinwe, the mail almost drowned me in my sleep. Praise Far that the healers made you take care of it. That was you, Aranya, Tinwe replied, dropping the entire pile onto Finrod's desk. The king yelped and held his teacup away from the paper avalanche. Well, it was the healers' idea, and I went along with them for once. It is a rather good idea. This all can be your problem, only because you are acting so smug. Tinwe had the good spirits to look aghast. Aranya, never! This is why you are a lord of Nargothrond, and a very popular individual by the looks of it. Finrod groaned. He reached into the pile and took out one rather distressed envelope. Oh, it's from Maghradze. Okay, I'll read one, he relented. To King Findarata of Nargothrond, from Lord Maghradze of Himring. Cousin, I am as well as can be. Lady Finduilas is wise beyond her years. I have no doubt if any of us shall continue on past the end of time, it will be you. I envy you for your everlasting energy. I'm deeply disturbed about the news that Garnistir has left his people. I can assure you he is not going to Telva. This means that he is intentionally avoiding me, and I do not know yet what to make of those implications. Yadakuinga advised me that I should go after him and take you up on your offer of a visit. Hopefully I can find him moping around in the woods before he hurts himself. I am also bringing Makalaure, who has not been well since the dragon. I understand the target we are painting on our backs if we were all to go to Hithlum together, yet I fear it is an even worse decision to have all my brothers. I'm sure I will pick up Telofin on my way west, in your hidden kingdom. Moreover, I think it will be a strong statement for us to formally recognize Vindakana's rule as a united people. I know the age of formality and to some extent even unity has passed, but I cannot help but wish still for the greater traditions of the past. Vindakana would be deeply honored, of this I have no doubt. It sounds as if Artanis will not be joining us. The speculations are beyond me. Father? Please, by Mandos? Only if the end of days were upon us. As for Turkano and Irse, I have not heard from them in centuries, and expect the worst. Both should have fought alongside Fino and their father in the Bracolach. I cannot fathom any reasons why they would have let them fight alone. Yours truly, Maghradze Fëanorian. Finrod put down the letter slowly, suddenly realizing what it meant. Of all of his cousins, it was him and 6 Fëanorians left to swear fealty to Fingon. Findarato, are you alright? Tinue asked. He must have seen the color drain out of his face. Quite alright, my friend. It seems as if we are about to have a lot of visitors. In that case, all the work I was planning on today can be put off till another time. I shall enjoy a final breath of freedom. Cancel my hearings for today. If it moves you, I would be in your debt if you help me with the mail. Otherwise, we can have that excellent scribe of yours, or better yet, Orodreth, attend to them. My nephew could use a practice in handling affairs. I don't like it when you Finwë start talking about freedom. Finrod winked. You know me, Tinwe. I can't stay in one place too long. I'll be back shortly. Just going for a quick ride to clear my head before the chaos begins. Tinwe watched in disapproval as Finrod flung a cloak over his shoulders and swept out of the room. Earwen! Finarfin tried reaching his wife through Osanwe in the morning. Of course, he had attempted multiple times the night before, but to no avail. Ara, what is wrong? Anara asked, offering him a bowl of wild berries. I can't reach Earwen through Osanwe, he replied, taking a handful of the red berries. Really? Nola and I can use it just fine, see? She nodded her head at the tall elf who was staring out over the river with Garantir. Finnkolfin flinched and turned around. What is Ara Finwë Ingold Finwë! What in the name of Manwë do you think you are putting in your mouth? Finnkolfin exclaimed, running over in 2 quick strides to seize his brother's wrist in a vice grip, preventing him from eating the berries. These are poisonous! He shouted, looking like he was about to hit the blonde over the head. Anara blushed and looked away. Her husband saw her through the corner of his eye. You, sweetheart, you can't go committing regicide. There shall be no king-slaying. None of that on this trip, Nola Finwë exclaimed. Aren't you the king here, Nola? I barely know what river this is, Finarfin muttered, staring at the apparently deadly berries as they rolled through the dirt towards the river. Well, Findagana would have inherited the crown after my death. Varda and Manwë save us all, Nertonel muttered. Finno is barely old enough not to get lost on a hike, Anara shouted, her eyes widening as she suddenly put the facts together. My baby can't be High King! He isn't ready! He's not old enough! He's older than me, Moria pointed out. Barely! And besides, you're not Finno. He's too reckless! Like his father? Fingolfin asked, smiling. Yes, like his father! Anara picked up a berry and tossed it at his chest. Fingolfin smiled. Lady Anare, I'm sure Findagana is a great king. You should be proud. But brother, did you save your life? No, well, yes, but no. I meant, did Anare reach you through Osanwe? Yes, in the middle of my conversation with Moria here too. Well, I can't reach Arwen. Finarfin felt his heart beating rapidly. He could not live without his wife. She was his rock, his everything. Nerdanel huffed. I was intentionally blocking him, but fine. She closed her eyes. When she opened them, fear had doused her rage. I can feel him, sort of, but it's like he has drowned himself in a tar pit. Not that would be entirely unlikely. Nola, are there any tar pits around here? Do you think the tar will preserve his bones? Can I beat him with his own femur next time he re-embodies? Finarfin toned them out and tried again to reach his wife. Tracing the bond between them, he followed until it disappeared into foggy depths. He waited, reached out, and there! A small, but a slight pulse of light, turquoise as the sea at Alqualonde. He breathed a great sigh of relief. She's there. You're right, Lady Nerdanel. It is like the bond has been smothered with blackness. Yet Aunt Anaire and Uncle Noel Finwës is the same as always, Garantir mused. Do you think they're in trouble? Anara gasped. Almost certainly, her nephew answered. but it is still the safest plan to go to the rendezvous point. Otherwise, we may pass each other in the forest and be never the wiser. Finarfin still felt ill, but he saw the logic in his nephew's statements. Then, we should make haste. Nerdanel, you appear to be missing your sword. Nerdanel frowned. Kalantri smirked. Well, my son is missing a horse. And a sword too, she sighed. But it may have been my fault. We should have asked Ulmo for more. Anare, give one of your blades to Morio. I'll be fine. Amille! No, Morio, you are likely one of the best fighters here. You need a sword. Besides, I'm good with knives, and we have a few of those left. Finarfin watched her take some of the dinner knives from their supplies before moving to pack his own gear. He absent-mindedly wondered if his Findarata would recognize any of them. Everyone was looking rather dirty and worse to wear, other than Morio, who must have figured out this vagabond lifestyle at some point. Moplung watched from his saddle as Luthien galloped ahead, singing to the birds and trees of Doriath. In her white horse's hoofprints, flowers bloomed, while small squirrels and rabbits cautiously emerged from their hiding places. Beams of sunlight followed in her wake, sunlight and one slightly distressed minstrel. Luthien! Luthien, do you have to ride so fast? Daran was shouting from where he struggled to keep up. I do, she sang, for who knows what awaits us at the girl's fence? Moplung was not close enough to hear the singer's response. At least Daran wasn't attempting to sing with her. Luthien's song was at least charming, but although Daran's voice was mighty indeed, his lyrics were becoming increasingly sappy. Yes, sappy, Moplung thought. It's an appropriate word. Oh, Belek, my friend. Why couldn't you be here to endure this with me? It's just as well, I suppose. For it looks like I will die in a field of daisies. With Luthien's song, we are about to be as discreet as a pillar of light. So farewell, good friend. May you die better in a muddy battlefield long from now, and not in wildflowers listening to Lord Daran's love songs. Moplung shook himself from his thoughts and sarcastic daydreaming when he felt the coldness of the shadowy bands of Melian's enchantment. He watched in silent fascination as the princess's song drove the fog and miasma off, replacing it with the golden sunlight of spring. Ah yes, the pathway of brilliance. Orcs, here we are. Then Luthien yelped. Silima's wings! Daran! Moplung! Come quickly! Moplung obeyed, realizing that he probably shouldn't let his queen's daughter die first. That was unfortunately his role, being the first to die today. He kicked his horse forward, and in 3 great strides, he stood abreast with the princess. On her other side was Daran. Look, Luthien whispered. Moplung did. There, collapsed before them in the grass, were 2 elves in light armor. One of them had a hair akin to fire, a deep copper color of which he had never seen before. Even so, he recognized it immediately. Maedhros, foe of my foe and lord of Himring. Lord Maedhros, the kinslayer and eldest son of Fëanor himself, is lying unconscious in the forest of Doriath. Never mind, Belek. Things might just get interesting after all. Daran, being the lore master, of course also recognized the elf immediately. Copper hair. There are none among our people with that coloring, and only 2 among the Noldor. Maedhros? Luthien questioned. Yes, look, Daran replied. He only has 1 hand. Moplung stared at the maimed arm of the fallen elf lord. He was still having a hard time believing that he was really seeing an infamous Noldorin lord within the girdle. And who was that beneath him? Well, don't just stand there, you fools! Luthien chastised. He's hurt! And he leapt off her horse without heed. What? Princess, no! Daran shouted, reaching for her wrist. He's a kinslayer! A demon! Luthien wrenched her arm away. Just because he's a kinslayer doesn't mean that I am. He needs help. The enchantments of the girdle are deadly. I know how to purge them and heal him. Moplung clenched his jaw but said nothing. While he wasn't particularly keen on helping any son of Fëanor, Maedhros was named the foe of my foe for a reason. Doriath needed his strength in a fight against the darkness. He dismounted and motioned to Daran. Together the two of them helped to roll the eldest son of Feanor off the elf he had collapsed against. Maghradze's companion was dark-haired like most of the Noldor, but his high cheekbones and fair complexion were far from common beauty. He looked high-born for sure. Daran sucked his breath in. Moblung looked at him expectantly. That's Maglor, the second son of Feanor. Lúthien's hands ghosted over the dark-haired Ellen, healing lyrics falling from her lips. He's badly wounded, and not from the enchantments. Poison from an orc's weapon. Daran, I will need your help. You know the cleansing songs? Of course, my lady. Then sing them with me. He doesn't have much time. Moblung half wanted to roll his eyes. It seemed as if Daran got to live a small piece of his dream after all. Although he doubted unconscious Feanorians were good love charms, but what did he know? The two of them raised their voices, and while Moblung had heard them sing together in festivals and feasts, this was different. Out there in the forest, the combined song of Daran and Lúthien harmonized so deeply and beautifully that Moblung felt the echoes of the Ainulindale. But something was wrong. Moblung himself felt the healing power radiating through the still air. Mathras groaned from where he lay. Yet no color returned to the dark-haired Ellen's pale face. No, no! He's slipping! Lúthien broke her song. Moblung saw Daran reach out to check for a pulse. Moblung, however, only had eyes for Mathras, whose eyes appeared to twitch between closed lids. Within him, some warrior's intuition was now screaming. If the Lord of Himring awoke to a dead brother. Stop, he ordered. If you cannot save him, stop! He grabbed an extra length of rope from his horse's saddle and quickly bent over the red-haired kinslayer, tossing Madras's sword far from them. He hesitated for a moment, unsure how to bind someone with one hand, before resorting to tying Madras's free hand to the kinslayer's sword belt. It was far from ideal, but should hopefully hobble him enough. Just as Moblung was stepping away, Madras's silver-grey eyes opened. For a second, 2 seconds, the infamous warrior simply stared at him. Maghradze, where's my brother? Lord Namo was lying nearly face down in the bed with wife, complaining. Vida was pretending to listen, sitting up beside him and working on her embroidery. I can't even show my face on Mahanaxar anymore. Well, sweetie, you did mess this one up, she answered, not taking her eyes off her work. You were thinking of another word. I was. All right, Namo, you fucked up. Namo gave her a side-eye glance from where he lay. If you tell anyone I swore, I will deny it. My reputation of being solemnly dignified is still intact. Yet everyone believes me to be a fool. I just didn't realize that the tablet would be that big of a deal. It is enchanted. You cannot simply destroy it with a hammer. Sweetie, never underestimate a Feanorian, Vida answered. Otherwise, we have glowing elves battling sea monsters and our friend Ulmo ready to take the gift of men. Namo's groan was muffled by the covers. But recent events have made for some wonderful tapestries. The first few will be finished soon. I particularly like the one of Ossa in the rowboat. It is a welcome change from the horrors of war. No! Namo sat up with a start. Absolutely not! If you hang tapestries about them in my halls, everyone and their brother will try to break out. It is imperative that the dead do not know of Fëanor and Nolofin's escape or how they did it. And Nolofin's children have not searched for their father to find him missing? No. My servants say that Iris had thought about it, but Arakana told her to wait until he was ready to seek them out himself. They assume he is healing in peace. But chuckled a bit, no doubt thinking just how Fingolfin was healing in peace. And Delphine? Traumatized still. He would be the last to look for the father that burned him. I see. So let's just pretend, figuratively, Vida spoke, that another son of Fëanor was to slip the bonds of his Roa and come to your halls. A son who had just lost his entire people to dragonfire, who had once been the kindest and softest of hearts, but was forced to leave his brother to torment and the dead to burn. And then he sees Delphine. Delvo with burn and abandonment scars still on his very face. You're talking about Maghradze? The one that likes to mope around depressed? Be wary of the quiet souls, Lord of the Dead, for when they scream the loudest. I hate these riddles, Vida. Just speak plainly. All right, my dear, who is as dense as a rock? Maghradze is dying, in case you haven't been paying attention. He has been in a sore mood lately, too. On seeing Delvo, seeing his lost people. What do you think he will do? Write a song? Or will the legendary control of Maghradze Kanafinwe finally break? Namo's eyes widened. Oh no. It will be entertaining. I imagine once Kana learns of his father's escape and believes that a mad Felnaro is marching north, all bets are off. He will find the tablet and run with Ambarossa. Irise isn't staying behind in case you thought she would. Mama will be quite upset, she continued after a pause. Besides, Madras will wake up to see his brother's body in the lap of Luthien, daughter of Melian. After putting up with Melkor for thousands of years, do you really want to see him rule Endor if Madras loses himself today and civil war breaks out among the elves? Namo shuddered at the flashbacks of all the years he was stuck babysitting Manwa's brother. Then his mind's eye saw elves fleeing halls en masse, led by a feral Maglor and a triumphant Irise. It was enough. Namo leapt out of the bed and flew as a spirit straight to Doriath. Ulma looked up from another long day of walking with Gilgalad to see his fellow Lord Newly break the sound barrier. He chuckled to himself. About time someone else did something around here. Madros sat up to stare wide-eyed at the still form of his brother. The most beautiful elf to walk on earth was sitting beside him, but he only had eyes for Maglor's pale face. Maghradze, he said in shock, and stumbled to his feet, noticing almost absent-mindedly that his hand had been tied down. But it did not matter. Kana, he whispered, kneeling beside him. Maglor felt light as the bonds of his royal loosened. He rose above his body, seeing an unknown girl and two other elves gathered around him. Nelly was there too, calling his name. But of course, he could not answer. No! Get back! Someone with a great voice shouted behind him. He turned to see Namo himself in spirit form nearly collide into his own fear. This was not how Kana envisioned being called to the halls. Was he about to be personally escorted into the void? Mandos? Go back, Maghradze, Namo ordered. How? He was dead, right? It wasn't exactly easy to become undead. Although, looking at Nelia below, Maglor felt a sudden fear rise. Nelia. Namo, dignified and stern Namo, swore under his breath. Maglor noticed that his long white hair looked a bit too wild and the glowing whites of his eyes a bit too intense. Then Namo started singing in Valarian. The next thing Maglor knew, he was waking up within his own body. Immediately, he was engulfed in a bone-crushing hug from Madros. Manuel could not believe his ears. What do you mean he sang Maghradze back to life? What part of not interfering does he not understand? And for Felnorian, no less! My lord, Eanna addressed, the tablet shouldn't even exist! Get Namo in here, and Arjen too, Osse and Uinen, and Ulma for the sake of all that is good. You cannot just bring people back to life. You can't make the children glow just because you feel sympathetic! End of chapter 16. Stay tuned. Oh my god, where this is going!